Hello, everyone, and welcome to User Interface. We are going to be creating a health bar system in Unreal 4 today. Before we get started, though, I want to go ahead and show you that there's plenty of help available on Canvas for today's assignment. So if you scroll all the way down on the modules section of Canvas, you will see that we have week 13, Introduction to Building Unreal, UI Building in Unreal 4, Part 2. Here we have your assignment description. In the assignment description, there is all the steps that I'm going to be going over today. I realize that the captioner is cutting this off a little bit, but that's okay. You can go onto Canvas and see it all for yourself in full. I also have a couple recommended readings, quote unquote, readings. They're actually YouTube videos. So if you are struggling with my particular version of how to make a health bar system in Unreal, I have provided 2 alternate examples that are YouTube videos that you can also try out. So there is plenty of help available for you today. Each of these videos is like 8 minutes long. They're not very long. They're easy to follow. So if my version doesn't work for you, please try one of these under your recommended readings. Additionally, this top video here actually provides information.
Playing tabletop.
Of course, there's a commercial. Provides information on how to implement your own user interface health bar asset. So if a couple weeks ago you decided to make a health bar animation, you can upload the PNG file to Unreal and make something a little bit more custom. And I believe there are timestamps. So this tutorial will show you how to add in your actual own asset, if you chose to do that. I'm not sure how many of you chose to do that, so I'm not going to be showing you that. Instead, I'm going to be showing you how to create a basic health bar system. You can go through and customize it all you like later. So as before, step 0 is to open and update Unreal Engine. So we are going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, we are on step 0. I'm going to go ahead and hide myself because you don't need to see me. It's more important that you see my screen at the moment. So we got our Unreal Engine fired up. Since we last did this, there has not been an update. So you can just go ahead and launch Unreal Engine 4.27.1, and it will, of course, take a moment. We are going to move on to step 1. We're going to open up the first person template only because I don't think we have worked in the first person template yet. This is, again, up to you. You can choose just about any template you would like. If you go to games, next, I'm going to choose first person. You could also do third person if you prefer. There is no difference whatsoever in what we're doing except the names of a few things, but first person or third person will work equally well. If you would like to do something wild like the rolling ball template, I mean, theoretically you could do that. As well. I don't think it changes anything, but you're going to go ahead and name your project. I'm going to name mine health because I already created a health bar project when I was troubleshooting, trying to make sure I have this tutorial right. Okay, what we are going to do is we are going to go down to our content browser, which is at the bottom, if you remember from last week. And we are going to right click, which pulls up this menu. We're going to go to the very last option at the bottom called User Interface, and then we're going to click on Widget Blueprint. We're going to go ahead and rename our Widget Blueprint Health. Whoop. Oh my goodness, typing is hard. Health Bar HUD. You could really name it anything you want as per usual. Just make sure you remember what you call it. And we're going to go ahead and double click this and open it up. We're going to go over here in our palette and we are going to find something called the progress bar. We're going to click progress bar. We're going to drag it on over and this is going to become our health bar. You can drag and resize it any size you would like. That's probably obnoxiously large. Let's scale it down a little bit. I want it to be easy to see, so it's easy for troubleshooting, but maybe, not our entire screen space. And then we're going to make sure that we have is a variable checked. That's over here on the right. We're also going to rename it to health bar. And one final thing is we want to make sure that it is anchored. You can use this flower in the left corner to do that. I think that's imprecise, so I'm going to go ahead and come over to the details menu on the right. I'm going to click anchors and it pulls a drop-down menu, and I'm going to anchor it to the upper left. I like my health bars in the upper left. If you would prefer it someplace else, for example, the center, you can do that. I just like mine in the upper left. We are ready to move on to step 2. In step 2, we are going to go back to Unreal Engine and open up the character blueprint. So that, oh, don't forget to compile and save. I'm going to move my captioner to the middle, and I think that should solve some problems. If you couldn't see it before, the progress bar is over here under palette, and that's what you dragged and dropped over. Sorry about that. It's always a bit difficult with ultra wide monitors and screen space. Make sure you're hitting compile up here and that you're hitting save. This will become like second nature if it isn't already. So compile and save to make sure that everything is saved. When we go back to our first person template, we're going to need to drag and drop. If you remember from last week, I talked about how anytime you open up a new widget or indeed a new window in Blueprints, it sets it as a new window and not as a tab. I prefer to have everything tabbed. So I'm just going to drag my health bar HUD into the first person example map, my main Unreal window. So back here in our content folder, now I'm working in first person. You may have worked in something else. We're going to go over into blueprints in the bottom left, and we're going to click on first character blueprint. Double click, excuse me. And what that's going to do is it's going to pull up our first person character event graph blueprint. What we're going to do is we're going to type in event begin play, but spell it right. Oh, but we can't add that because there's already an event begin play. That's totally fine. What we're going to end up doing is dragging off of that. We're going to drag off of event begin play, and we are going to create widget. It automatically reconnects, which is really nice. This might get a little messy. This might get into some spaghetti territory. On here under class, we're going to use the drop down menu to select our health bar HUD. And then we're going to drag off the return value here and do a promote to variable. Boop. We are also going to drag off, well, we're going to have to do this, right? And we're going to have to reconnect this down to our branch here. We're going to have to call a function add to viewport. And what this is going to do is we're going to have to reconnect. I could have just waited to the end actually and reconnected everything. All this is doing is saying, hey, when we start the game, in addition to doing all this cool stuff, which came pre-built into our first person template, we also want you to show this health bar widget that our HUD that we've created. So we have to tell it to add this health bar widget to the viewport. Now we're going to compile and save, and it should show when we click play. It does, but look, there's nothing in it. We have no health. We are dead. We don't want to be dead, but we can also shoot things. Why is this box not falling over? Okay, anyway, we'll address the collision issues with that white box in a second. Let's go back to our HUD, and we have some variables that we need to adjust to make everything visible. So we're going to scroll down here, and under progress %, we need to change this. Now, you might be thinking, well, when our health is full, it's at 100%, so we should type in 100, right? Wrong, because we think of % in terms of integers, but percents are actually fractions, right? So % is a value from 0 to 1. So we're going to just type in 1. Oh, look at that. Our health bar is full. If you would like to go through and mess with some settings here, you totally can. I'm going to do something you should never do and set my health bar to pink. You should never do that, not because pink is not a lovely color, but because your player is going to associate health with red, right? But for this tutorial, I want to be happy, so I'm setting it to my happy color, which is pink. Here you have the bar fill type, so you can choose if you would like your bar to fill from left to right or right to left, from top to bottom. So if, for example, you wanted to have a vertical health bar instead of a horizontal health bar, that's how you would do that. Again, make sure you compile and save. If we go back to our first person map and click play, there's our health bar. It's full. This is great, but we don't have a way to add or subtract health. So that's what we're going to do in the next step. All right, we are now on step 3, and it's time to add some values into our blueprint. So let's go back to Unreal. We're going to go ahead and open up our first person character blueprint, which we already had open. We used that when we told the game to, on event begin play, to show us a health bar. And we're going to go ahead and make some variables here. In the left side of your screen in my blueprint, we're going to click under variables. We're going to click this plus sign, which will allow us to add a variable. So we're going to click that, and then we are going to create a variable that we're going to call max health. And we are going to set it, it defaults to Boolean, but we don't want it to be a Boolean variable. We want it to be a float variable so that we can manipulate the value in another step. We're also going to add another variable, and we're going to call this one current health. So the max health is the maximum health that your character can possibly have. In this case, we set that to 100, and the current health would be what health your character is currently at. So if you've taken damage, that would be a variable less than, a number less than 100. So we are going to compile and save. And when we click on max health, if you notice there's on the right side of the screen, there's a default value there. Max health is currently set at 0. We're going to set that at 100. And we're going to do the same with current health, because when we start the game, we want to start at 100. If for some reason we didn't want to start at 100, then we could change that. But I don't know why we would want that. All right, we're going to compile and save yet again, and then we will move on to step 4. Okay, we are now on step 4. This is where we're going to manipulate our percent values in our HUD. So we're opening up Unreal, we're returning to our health bar HUD, and in the details panel, which is on your right side of your screen, there's a percent value that we want to manipulate. So under progress, percent, we're going to click the button next to it where it says bind. Now this is the, what's a nice way to put it? This is the cheap way of doing this. There are other more elegant ways that will allow you to do more advanced techniques. But for the purposes of today, I'm going to show you the easy version, and then you can watch the first video linked in your recommended readings for this week, and you can choose to do something more fancy. That tutorial will show you how to do the same thing, but in a different way, in a way that would be more future-proofing if you wanted to add in future features to your health bar. We're just going to keep it simple, keep it easy. So to the right of our percent value under progress, there's a button called bind, and we're going to click create binding. Now this opens up the function tab from the event graph for our health bar HUD, and what appears on our screen is a get health bar %0 and a return node. Okay, so we are going to drag off this get percent node, and we're going to type cast to first person. If you're using the third person template, then obviously you're going to type in cast to third person, but we want cast to first person character. Whoop, spaghetti. Okay, hold on. Let's move that over, make it look a little bit nicer. Then you're going to drag off this object and type get player character. Oops, came up straight away. Hold on. There we go. Under the cast to first person character node, drag off first person character and type get current health, which is that little variable that we created earlier. And then you're going to drag off the same pin, so that's first person character here, and type get max health. And then we need to create a division here, because what we're asking this first person character user interface widget to show us is a percent of health. And we get percents when we have fractions, right? So we're going to divide our current health by the maximum potential health to get that percent. So we need to create a function to divide by float. So we're going to drag off current health and type in float, and then what comes up is float variable divided by float variable. Of course, there's pluses and minuses as well, so, and multiplications. So there's a lot you can do with floats. Of course, we want to divide because we're looking for a percent here. So we're going to hook those two up, and then we're going to plug in our current health divided by our max health. We're then going to plug this node into our return value in our return node. And then theoretically what should happen is that the game should take current health, which is a value that we haven't yet set, divide it by our max health of 100, which will then give us the percent, and then that percent will display on our HUD, on the HUD that we created. So let's compile and save, and then we will move on to step 5. Step 5 is where we get to cheat a little bit, because instead of setting up a system wherein if our character touches something or gets hit by something, they lose health, we are going to cheat and just have a quick, I guess, debug feature, if you like, by having our health get less or more based off of a Keypress event. So Keypress events are really useful. I use them all the time to just try and make sure that I've set up my widget appropriately and that my system works. So this is a quick tip / tool that you can use in other situations just to see whether or not you've got everything set up correctly before you invest any more time in what you've done. Okay, so go to the first person character blueprint, which we already had open. And then this is where we're going to add in those Keypress events. So you're going to right click, and then you are going to add an F key. So if you type in F key, you see that you get an input keyboard events F. And then I think in the instructions I say V, but honestly, it can be whatever you. We'll stick with what the instruction said and use V. And then we're going to drag off, we'll start with F. We're going to drag off pressed, and then we're going to type set current health. I'm going to move these over so we don't get caught up in the soup going on over here. And then we're going to go ahead in our variables on the left side, we're going to select current health, and we're going to drag it into our first person character event graph. But this time, instead of set current health, we're going to click get current health. And then we are going to need to put in a float minus float function. And then we are going to set this number to 5. And then what we are effectively asking the computer to do is anytime we push the F key, we are going to deduct 5 HP from our character's current health value. We want to do the opposite with V. So we're going to drag off V, and we're going to type set current health. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to drag in our current health value there, get current health. And then we are going to drag off, and we are going to do the float plus float, or addition. I'm not sure if it calls it, it does call it addition. Okay, so you could also type in addition and get this node as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the current health, and then this time we are going to add 5. So every time we push the V key, we should add 5 health. Don't forget to compile and save. Okay, this is the moment of truth. We should be able to play the game, see our health bar, and then if we push F, we should deduct health. If we push V, we should add health. Oops, it always scares me when I fire. All right, so I hit F. My health bar is deducing. And if I hit V, it comes back. Huzzah! We have made a working health bar system. Step 6, take a video of your health bar increasing and decreasing and add it to Canvas. We covered this last week, so you probably already have a video editing software that you prefer. I recommend Streamlabs because it's free, and it is also what I use to stream. So it's a multifunction software. So your assignment on Canvas is going to be to actually turn in a video of your health bar system working. I cannot show you Streamlabs because I am currently using it to record this video. So it's pretty simple, straightforward. You will click record. Recording this part of your screen's fine. It doesn't have to be in full screen mode. And then the most important thing is I want to see that your health bar decreases at whatever increment you set it to. It doesn't have to be 5 points necessarily. You can set it to, if you wanted a 10-point interval. That's all I need to see. I need to see that there is a health bar working and that it increases and decreases at a set interval. Yep, that's it. Record that. I mean, it's going to be, 10 seconds of recording? Pretty straightforward. Then save the recording, upload it to YouTube, upload the YouTube link to Canvas, because even though it is a small file size, Canvas gets really dumb with large files like videos. So then you would go into your assignments. We are week 13. And then this is put in student view. This is where you will upload it. Oh, the assignment's locked because I'm filming this early, obviously. But this is where you would upload it. Cool. All right, y'all. I will see you next week. I will be online at 11 a.m. to answer any questions in Zoom. So you can get to our Zoom meeting, of course, by scrolling down and clicking Zoom. Thanks, y'all. See you in a minute.